Hello, my name is Verna, and I'm going to read you a book named Good Morning Neighbor, and it's by David Cali and Maria Deck. A mouse wanted to make an omelet. To make an omelet, the mouse needed an egg, but he didn't have one. So he thought, I'll go and ask my neighbor, the blackbird. Good morning, neighbor. Do you have an egg that I could use to make an omelet? I'm sorry, I don't, said the blackbird, but I do have flour. With an egg, we could make a cake. Let's go and ask my neighbor, the dormouse. And there's the blackbird. A mouse and a blackbird wanted to make a cake. Good morning, neighbor. Do you have an egg that we could use to make a cake? I'm sorry, I don't, said the dormouse, but I do have butter. You'll need butter to make a cake. For the egg, we can ask my neighbor, the mole. There's the mole. A mole, a blackbird, and a dormouse wanted to make a cake. Good morning, neighbor. Do you have an egg that we could use to make a cake? I'm sorry, I don't, said the mole, but I do have sugar. You'll definitely need sugar to make a cake. Perhaps my neighbor, the hedgehog, will loan us an egg. A mouse, a blackbird, a dormouse, and a mole wanted to make a cake. Good morning, neighbor. Do you have an egg that we could use to make a cake? I'm sorry, I don't, said the hedgehog. And there's what a hedgehog looks like. What kind of cake do you want to make? I have apples. Maybe we could make an apple cake. My neighbor, the raccoon, might have an egg. A mouse, a blackbird, a dormouse, a mole, and a hedgehog wanted to make a cake. Good morning, neighbor. Do you have an egg that we could use to make a cake? I'm sorry, I don't, said the raccoon, but I have cinnamon to add flavor. Let's go see if my neighbor, the lizard, has an egg. A mouse, a blackbird, a dormouse, a mole, a hedgehog, and a raccoon wanted to make a cake. Good morning, neighbor. Do you have an egg that we could use to make a cake? I'm sorry, I don't, said the lizard, but I do have raisins. For the egg, we can ask my neighbor, the bat. Now we have a crew. A mouse, a blackbird, a dormouse, a mole, a hedgehog, a raccoon, and a lizard wanted to make a cake. They already had flour, butter, sugar, apples, cinnamon, and raisins. The only thing missing was an egg. Of course I have an egg, said the bat. The neighbors finally had all ingredients they needed, and so they began. The blackbird poured the flour. The bat broke the egg. The dormouse added the butter. The mole stirred in the sugar. The mouse mixed the dough, and the hedgehog added the apples. The raccoon sprinkled the cinnamon, and the lizard topped it with raisins. All we need now is an oven. Let's ask our neighbor the owl, said the lizard. A mouse, a blackbird, a dormouse, a mole, a hedgehog, a raccoon, a lizard, and a bat wanted to make a cake. The cake was ready to be baked. All they needed was an oven. Good morning, neighbor. Could we use your oven to bake a cake? Certainly, said the owl. So all the animals joined the owl in her kitchen. And there's her house with a kitchen. The cake finally came out of the oven, and it was perfect. But when it was time to serve it, the owl asked, How many slices should I cut? The blackbird put in the flour, so she gets a slice. The dormouse put in the butter, so he gets a slice. The mole offered the sugar, so obviously she gets a slice. The hedgehog provided the apples, so he gets a slice too. A slice also goes to the raccoon for adding the cinnamon, and a slice goes to the lizard for pitching in the raisins. Lastly, a slice goes to the bat for putting in the egg, and we must not forget a slice for the owl for the use of her oven. So that makes 8 slices. Do you think that's right? What about me? Asked the mouse. You didn't put in anything, said the dormouse, so you don't get a slice. And anyway, it's hard to cut a cake into 9 pieces. The mouse went away sadly, while the other animals began to divide the cake. Well, said the blackbird, if the mouse hadn't asked me for an egg, I wouldn't have thought about giving him flour to make a cake. And if he hadn't asked me for an egg, I wouldn't have put in the butter, said the dormouse. And I wouldn't have offered the sugar, said the mole. And I wouldn't have pitched in the apples, said the hedgehog. And I wouldn't have added the cinnamon, said the raccoon. And I wouldn't have pitched in the raisins, said the lizard. And we wouldn't have a cake to share, said the bat. You're right, said the owl. So the blackbird, the dormouse, the mole, the hedgehog, the raccoon, the lizard, the bat, and the owl cut the cake into 9 slices. And they're all very, very happy, which wasn't that hard after all to cut 9 pieces. And that's the end of your story. Thank you.